Hello, everyone. This is Deborah Richardson, and today I am putting the AP in Happy, where accounts payable teams are empowered to protect the vendor master file from fraud. This podcast will give a voice to accounts payable team members by talking about the growing reality of cyber attacks in their world and which vendor setup and vendor management techniques they can apply to protect the vendor master file from fraud. If you are looking for vendor process training for you or your entire vendor team, head over to my site at deborahrrichardson.com and click on the Vendor Team Training Solved button to learn more about what is included in the monthly or annual plan and also to download a 2021 training schedule. Get the training that you and your team needs to avoid payment fraud, duplicate vendors, compliance fines, and more. My guest today was on all the way back in episode 20 to talk about Employee Appreciation Day and how he, as a leader in his business, found ways to show his employees how much he appreciated them. Well, he's back today to talk about what updates he's made to adjust to COVID and what unique idea he has planned for this year's Employee Appreciation Day. Now, if you don't know what day that is and you need some ideas, keep listening. Welcome to episode 123, a conversation with Josh Kunkel on employee appreciation, the remote version. So, welcome back, Josh. Last time you were on was episode 20, talking about employee appreciation. And that was such a long time ago. I mean, we didn't even know anything about COVID, none of that. But little did we know that talking about remote employees back then would mean so much in 2020 because of COVID. I don't know, maybe we have psychic abilities. But anyway, for my audience that is not familiar with you and your company, haven't listened to episode 20 yet, can you talk about you and your company?
Yes, I think it's good to be back. And certainly a lot has changed since that first episode. So Method Group is an architecture, interior design, planning, and preservation firm. And we have a focus of working on infill, mixed use, historic preservation, and industrial projects. Basically, if it has experience attached to it, we work with it. So we focus on how the individual feels whenever they interact with one of our clients' projects. So, and then the industrial is supporting all of those experiential type projects. As you know, the internet has changed dramatically how everything works. And so we like to do the thing that supports the fun stuff.
Yeah, and Method won a couple of awards, right, in 2020. I know you won at least one because I voted for you on one of them.
Yeah. So yes, we our first projects that we had to submit for awards, both projects won all of the awards. So we're very excited about that, and our clients were thrilled too. So yeah. Yeah, but again, we've kind of taken a unique approach in thinking about, a lot of times architects do renderings and these images of how it's going to look, and they focus on the building. They don't focus on your experience as a person. And so we want to show how it's going to feel being there. And I think the jury recognized that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, congratulations on winning. I know that had to make your 2020, especially with everything going on in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, Josh, you and I met at a chamber event, and I know as we got to talking, I was very interested because you had I know at that time Method wasn't yet a year old, but you had some unique employee strategies, and I thought it would be a great time, to bring you on when we talked back in for episode 20. And the last time we talked, that episode was actually published on Employee Appreciation Day, which is employee appreciation. And that's what we're talking about on this episode. But this time we have a couple of weeks ahead of it. So, Employee Appreciation Day, for those of you out there that are not aware, is Friday, March 5th. And you're welcome. You've got some time to prepare. Josh, last time you wrote individual thank you letters. Your team went for churros and sweet treats at the Mexican bakery across the street. You also had a new remote employee. But before we get into what you're doing this year, how has COVID affected your company? Is your entire team working remotely now?
So as you kind of alluded to, we started in with having remote team early, so pre-COVID. Um, and so that actually helped us significantly go into COVID and make the transitions, because we did have transitions to where our entire team was working remote, even though we have, so like our setup, we have 4 people in Tulsa, we have 1 in Boston, that's Sarah, and then we have Nick, who's in Denver, that we hired in March of 2020. So like as that first wave of the pandemic, we've hired Nick and we haven't even met him in person before. Unfortunately, our team has not even been in the same room together ever as a team. So we're hoping to make that happen in July of this year, after the vaccine has made its way into the market.
So Method is kind of always on the cutting edge because you guys had a mix of hybrid of remote and in-office employees back when we first talked, and now you've hired completely with a remote onboarding process. You've hired another remote employee that you haven't even met in person yet.
Yeah. And so what we did have to do, so like we had Adriana that was on maternity leave, came back into the office, and 2 weeks later daycare shut down, and so she had to go fully remote at that point, and she prefers working in an office. And so we worked with her over the next couple of months, helping her figure out what the routine looked like, making sure she had the right equipment. And this was for everybody. But we had a lot of focus with Adriana, since she was also dealing with baby too. But we made sure that everybody had all of the equipment that they needed, or if they needed additional things, we just made sure that they were able to work well in their environment. We also helped, like, I know personally, we've made a couple of different shifts in our house, trying out different things. And so what was because we have 4 kids and 3 of them are in distance learning.
Oh, geez. I have a cat.
So, yeah.
I can't even imagine, Josh.
It's a lot. So like Beth, my wife, who normally is almost full-time for Method, she had to step down and step back from her Method responsibilities. Thankfully, we were able to do that so that she could be a teacher. But like our workroom, so our school room that we created for the kids, they didn't end up actually using it. So now it's become a work room, a work from home room. So you can go close the door and have some quiet focus time, be able to lock it and keep the other children out. So as best you can. They're creative.
And it's almost a year now, because we're taping this February 10th, and about a year ago, COVID was just starting to be talked about. I don't think it was in the United States yet, or maybe we had a couple of cases. I don't remember, but I know it wasn't full blown yet. We were all like, "What's COVID?"
Yeah.
But when we talked last time, we talked about recognizing your employees throughout the year, as well, not just at, an employee appreciation day. So as you think back, through this COVID year, March to now almost March, how has that changed how you engage your employees throughout the year? I know you already talked about you had some sessions scheduled for March of 2020, and now that's gotten postponed out to July. So what is it that you're doing to engage your employees throughout this pandemic?
So I'm so glad that you brought this up because, for me, thinking about for this episode, Employee Appreciation Day, it's kind of like Mother's Day or Father's Day, or even like Black History Month. These are things that we should be celebrating all year and focusing on every day. As daunting as that might sound, but it has to become part of your culture that your employees, matter so much, and that I can't do what I do if I don't have my team, and my team needs to be at their best. And so some of the things that we do daily stand-ups. Or we call it, we don't do stand-ups like traditionally. We do this through Slack, but it's what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? Are you stuck? Or do you have anything come up or going on? And then a temperature check. So we use like a stoplight, red, green, yellow, so that we can kind of get the feel. Just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're feeling red. Because many a times if you're in flow state or you're engaged or you have the right tasks, that you're actually feeling green, which is good. So we've noticed over time we can see those trends, and we actually have that as a weekly KPI that we track just to make sure that the team is feeling okay. And if it gets yellow or orange or red for more than 1 or 2 weeks, then we stop everything and we start addressing it.
So I think that's very interesting. So talk a little bit more about the stoplight. Is that the employee identifying if they're red, yellow, or green? And is that a daily or hourly or just whenever they want to change it?
Daily, so we do this once a day, typically whenever you start your day. Everybody gets discretion. Again, this one of the other things, so much about appreciating your team is about giving them authority, and giving them control over their environment. And so whenever people feel that they have control or authority, they actually feel more engaged, more comfortable. And so this is one of those things that, well, you know what, my load is light, but I am feeling stressed because something's going on at home. So that's an immediate, thing, because I review all of them. I can see what's going on, as part of that daily check-in, and say, well, I see you're red today. What's up? And I can more immediately check in with somebody, maybe clear some issues or just give words of affirmation or, whatever more immediately, rather than waiting to like an annual review or something to catch that. So that's kind of the first line of things that we do. The second is that we do bi-monthly, twice a month, one-on-one sessions. And so they used to be all for me and then Beth on our team. We realized that some people interact better with different personality types. Mm-hmm. And so I am who I am, and I can't change that. And so some of the team opens up better to Beth, who has a different personality type. She's an empath, and so she can read behind the lines with emotions and things better than I can. I tend to focus more on ideas and like tasks and that kind of thing. So between the two of us, we have a pretty good spread. So I take half of the one-on-ones and she takes the other half, but we have the same exact agenda for all of them. So we have consistency. But this year we're doing something new. We read a book called Designing Your Life. It was by two Stanford professors.
Okay.
And so we did this as a team and we're kind of working through the book. But one of the things is a good time journal and the life dashboard. So the journal is writing down the things that you've done during the day and seeing your level of engagement and your energy doing those things. So it's supposed to help you track, like if you're low energy and low engagement on something, well, maybe you should consider giving that to somebody else, or maybe you should stop doing that thing. Or if you know it's coming, then you can be better prepared for that. And then the life dashboard is work, life, play, and love. And you have, what level, 0 to 100, how you're feeling in general about each of those areas. So like if your work is really full, but your play is not full, like mine is, because it's, being a business owner,
It's been there.
all work all the time. That, well, maybe this quarter I need to be more intentional about getting those opportunities to play, so that I can be in more harmony with myself. Or maybe I'm okay with that being for this quarter or this year or whatever, because we're pushing towards a specific deadline that I know is going to be intense.
Is that something that you're having your entire team read and then also go through and do the journal and then the dashboard as well?
Yep. So I don't ask, I read a ton. And so originally, like whenever we started out, I was having my team try to read more often, and I found that didn't work. And so I have to be very selective in the books that I share. Like I share all of the books with my team and just said, I got something from this or whatever. But for one that we do as a team, this one also happened to coincide with the beginning of the year. And, with COVID, like mental health is such a big deal, and something that we've dealt with. So I thought it was a good alignment that we could all kind of focus on together, so that we can all kind of grow and understand.
Yeah.
That.
And I think that is so important, especially now, because I can't remember a time, and I mean, I was in the corporate world for 20 some odd years, and I just cannot remember a time where we had the mixing of business and personal at the same time. And, I'm one that I would love to work, remotely. I don't need that, the whole team around me all the time, but not everyone is like that. And so when we talk about, recognizing your employees throughout the year and also that engagement, I think what you're doing with one, getting everyone on the same page, reading the same book and getting that interaction around the book, and then two, addressing their mental health with the different exercises that are in the book, again, the journal and then also the life dashboard. I think that's great. So can you say again what the name of that book is, and then I'll be sure to link that in the show notes.
Yep. Designing Your Life.
Yeah, it sounds like I need to read that. Actually, you do read a lot and you post a lot of the books that you read. And so I kind of go through there to see what the next book it is I'm going to read. So yeah, this sounds like this one's going on my list.
Yeah. I just finished The Color of Law, which was a really, really foundational book knowledge-wise, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Okay, we'll hold off on that one.
Yeah. But I will mention, there's a lot of people that think about work-life balance And
Hmm.
I think of it as work-life integration. And
Yes,
so, because it's
definitely now.
really that you only have one life to live. And so if you're trying to balance both of them, one is always going to be competing with the other. And so you're always going to have that false pretense or that false expectation out there that you feel awful if work is higher than life or if life is higher than work. And so you guilt yourself, without needing to do that to yourself. And it's
Mhm.
just having that perspective. Okay, well, this week work is heavy, so maybe next week we dial work down a little bit more, so that I can have more family time. Or, again, seasonality is a big thing, especially in my industry, is that sometimes we just have really busy times. And so, but it's knowing that, then okay, then I need to be intentional, with myself, with my team, of saying, okay, guys, I'm gonna, like, maybe it's surprising them or whatever, or giving them a week heads up, like, take Friday off, like, just go get out of here. Yes, I know we're busy, but work will be back on Monday,
Yeah.
or whatever. So I think that's a very important distinction, because a lot of people compartmentalize work and compartmentalize at home. And sometimes they can even be two very different people. Like work Josh and life Josh for me are the same, but I've had other bosses before, that they were very different. And I wish that, not work boss was work boss, because they were a lot more fun and caring. So, yeah.
Well, again, I like that you are in tune with how your employees are feeling, with their mental state, being open to say, go ahead, take that Friday off. Maybe if you've seen that they've been red all week, right? Because you track that. I mean, I really think that's great. And last episode, it was the same. You were pretty in tune with how your employees wanted to feel appreciated, what motivated them. And just for listeners that are not aware, there is a book out there called The Five Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, Empowering Organizations by Encouraging People. And it's by Gary Chapman and Paul White. And what it does is it encourages leaders and team members to just learn what motivates their team members and the colleagues, and really what makes them feel appreciated. Now, I will link that book as well in the show notes. So listeners, you guys can go and read about that in more detail, including how I, as a leader, used a unique technique to find that out about my direct and indirect reports. So Josh, this year, how are you going to, celebrate Employee Appreciation Day? I know your team is still mostly remote. Have you noticed that your employees' motivations or ways of appreciation changed due to the change in the working environment as a result of pandemic?
So one of the things and we noticed this as a team too, because again, one of the things that we do, since we are more remote, and we focus as being a remote company first, even though we have an office and we have physical people in the office, we focus on the experience as being remote first. And that's a very important distinction, because we were operating with Sarah being remote, and she felt a little left out from the happenings in the office. And so that was in August of 2019. And so again, that was one of those red flags going off, like, hey, we're not doing a good job. Thank you, Sarah, for speaking up and feeling comfortable to speak up. And so we stopped everything and we figured it out. And that was the moment that we decided we're going to be remote first, which again prepared us. Now, COVID, everybody's like, obviously we can't really gather, and we can't, like, and with having two fully remote, out of state people, we can't like go to lunch or go to the bar after work. So we started integrating, like we do Thursday happy hour. And so then we started doing a couple of those, and they're like, we should do trivia. So we do Thursday trivia questions, and whoever's the winner gets to be the next week. We're on Slack, and so like everybody, whoever wins gets like a little emoticon or whatever to put next to their name, signifying that they were the trivia champion.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Slack has that function, right?
And then it's just making sure that you have enough time during the week that everybody can feel like there's project or team time, like work specific time, but then there's other opportunities for just, shooting the breeze kind of time.
Yeah.
And that's very important. So like we do Friday lunch tables, and that was something, the Thursday happy hour and the Friday lunch tables are something that directly came out of COVID and having some people needing more interaction. Like you mentioned that you're good, working from home, and like people can be over there for a bit.
Yeah.
But we have some others on our team that they're people. So we try to integrate as much as that as we could. So, and that
Yeah.
goes, to the 5 love languages, and we did the ones for singles. So I don't know, maybe it was a little bit more fun and less politically correct doing the singles one. But what we found is that most people aren't motivated by money, that they're motivated by time with others and words of affirmation. So those are our top 2 almost across the board from our team. So in our quarterly meeting in October, I had the whole team write 2 things that they were proud of every other team member. And so we went around and shared, something that for everybody. And so each person had to talk about the other 5 people. And that was very successful.
I bet that was because they had to focus on the positive. And,
Yes.
and for those listeners that are not aware, the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, Josh, you mentioned a couple of these, but 1 is words of affirmation, 2 is quality time, 3 is acts of service, 4 is tangible gifts, and then 5 is physical touch. And so I know, Josh, you mentioned 2 of those, right? You mentioned words of affirmation. And what was the other one that's more prevalent in your team?
Quality time.
Quality time, yes. So again, I'm going to link that book in the show notes. And so I know, last time, episode 20, when we talked, you mentioned something about when I asked about what employee events you had coming up, you talked about going to the bar, having a couple of drinks. And, I kind of joked that you're going to have a lot of applications, since that, as we know, is just not as feasible now. You've kind of replaced that with, is it your Thursday trivia and Friday happy hour, or did I get those?
Thursday trivia, Thursday happy hour. So at 4:00 Central Time, we shut it down, and we can, most of the time, people have adult beverages, some more than others, depending upon how the week is going. And so, and then Fridays we do lunch table, which is where everybody just hop on Zoom, like eat whatever lunch you have. Like you don't have to order something in. It could just be a sandwich you made or whatever, or chips, but we've started using that time to just chat informally. But lately we've been using it to task troubleshoot, or like kind of work through things, or do like little design critique sessions. And so we've been a little bit more functional with that time, and it's had a lot higher engagement.
I think that's a great idea. I was going to ask you too, so thanks for explaining, because I didn't really know what the Friday lunch table meant, but that's a great idea. Just get everybody on Zoom, and then you guys just eat your lunch together, informal, and you can, bring an agenda to it or not. I love that.
Yeah. Or like if somebody like, again, some of us have been able to go on trips to like cabins in the woods and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a good opportunity to share, or like, hey, I saw this funny video. Like today, we had a lunch and learn with a product rep, and they were talking about, those big bollards, or those big balls at Target. And
Yeah.
it was talking about somebody that bumped one with their truck, and that ball started rolling into the parking lot. so, so, uh,
Oh,
so
you mean the ball at Target that's like, I thought that was made out of like concrete or something.
yeah, it's huge. It weighs a whole bunch, but it's not very well attached to the ground apparently. So,
Oh,
but we were watching that as a team, and we'll probably have a little icon. We do the little custom icons in Slack like all the time, and so like the custom reactions or whatever. And so we're probably going to have a target ball show up.
oh my
Uh,
God.
and so,
Now
yeah,
everyone, when we go to Target, we're gonna like park way away from the ball because that's gonna be like the first thing we think is gonna happen. I mean, I would have never even thought that possible, but yeah, I'm picturing it now, and I know where I'm gonna park, which is well away from that ball. Okay, so Josh, this year, amidst the pandemic, Friday, March 5th, what are you guys doing for Employee Appreciation Day?
okay, so I am really excited about this one because again, this is something that would not have come about unless we had COVID. So it's something that I've noticed about the team is that most of our team has worn a bathrobe to one of our team meetings at some point, and sometimes we'll have two people wearing a bathrobe. So I have gotten the entire team bathrobes with method monogrammed on it. And so the team will be allowed to wear that method robe because it will be, like a method polo or whatever to any of our internal team meetings.
That
Yeah,
is so awesome. That is like the ultimate combination of work and home. That is what is that? Not work-life balance, work-life integration.
totally. And that you can be comfortable and cozy and warm. And so I'll probably include, so I'm having them, so I'll have to have my team not listen to this episode until Employee Appreciation Day. But I'm having all of the robes shipped to the office, and then I can package them up, wrap them. I think I'm going to get some goodies, and then take those and then ship them to our team members that are out of state. So that shows up on Employee Appreciation Day. We can all have it at the same time. So that we did previously. So we did a movie night as a team, and like everybody could order whatever they wanted, for dinner. And they also had an alcohol budget too, where they could go to the liquor store, get, up to $50. We did this for our Christmas party. And so, a nice dinner, a movie, a funny movie, and drinks. But I think that we're overdue for another movie night. Or we could do a movie afternoon, have our robes, and just, have a good time.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to what I said on the original interview, episode 20. I think you're going to get a lot of applications.
We do already. So, yeah.
A $50, did you say a $50 alcohol budget?
Yeah. Well, I mean, now I tend to skew it because, I'm a brown spirits kind of guy. And so my alcohol budget tends to be a little higher. So personally, that was so that I could get something I wanted. So yeah, but the rest of the team, the wine drinkers, the Moscato drinkers, they were able to get a couple of bottles or whatever. And so, again, it's like spending $50, for each team member on getting alcohol, that is such a small expense compared to the enjoyment, the team building, the morale, that continuity that you get with your team, and again, that's where so many companies, think that, well, we can't spend, like, we already pay you enough, like, be thankful for that. And it's like, well, okay, so, if you lose that person, how much is that going to cost you?
Exactly.
Or if they're not engaged, how much is that going to cost you? Like, it's shocking that 75% of all people are disengaged at work. Like, that is a huge, huge cost. So I would rather spend the $50 every once in a while to get my, couple $100 to get the team, a nice dinner and alcohol or whatever, that we can be engaged and, be happy and fulfilled as a team.
That is so awesome. And let's just go back to the work-life integration with the method robes, because I'm remembering, so I used to work at a company and we could order apparel with branding on it. But shoot, it was polo shirts. It was, we did have some like athletic apparel. We had hats. We had tote bags. We did not have robes. And I think that is very, again, very indicative of how you and your team are just in tune with the times, because people working from home, things happen. What's that thing where, not everyone wears pants. So you're taking care of all of that, with the robe, top and bottom in place. It's recognizing that and changing with the times. I think that's great, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's about listening and seeing what your team is telling you and leaning in and responding to that. In like, again, like, this is just, I'm impulsive. And so it's something that I've learned is when to actually listen to that impulsiveness as a leader and just do it and get it, because again, everybody benefits. Like, okay, sure. So, the robes were $60 a piece. So, it's like, it's nice. And so it's, it's good to treat the team like for no reason at all. Because again, whenever we get heavy and whenever they need to work and put in the time and all of that, they're going to do it without question. Yes. So it's because they know that I'm taking care of them.
Yes,
and so
that they are appreciated.
They're going to be taken care of and they're going to be appreciated because I'm putting in the time and the work on the front end to build that trust with the team. So whenever we do get crazy, busy, and in growth mode, like this year, we're probably going to be hiring, we're going to be growing our team by 25%. So we've got a goal to hire 2 this year. So whenever it does come time to hire, you know what, we've got raving reviews from our team and we're going to have our pick and getting the best people, the most fun people on our team are kind of weird, I guess.
I think you're going to get them applications, and you don't even have to be in the Tulsa area because you're still hiring on a remote basis, correct?
Yes. Actually, any hire we make is going to be fully remote unless we maybe have a preference on, location or a market that we might be getting into to where that physical presence is needed. So.
Yeah, because I know you're licensed, or is it licensed or certified in several states, and 30 days or so to get licensed in the different states. So if you want to have presence there, then maybe you'll have a preference for an employee to be located in that state.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. All right, so this has been good. It's been great to hear how Method, how you, Beth, and how your activities and events and employee onboarding and appreciation has really been affected and how you adapted to just the current situation we're in. Thanks for coming back on the podcast. So if anyone wants to, connect with you, find out more information on Method, or perhaps get your book list that you post on social media, how can they get more information and connect with you?
So our website is a really good resource, method.group. There's no .com. We're fancy with that new extension. So my email is josh@method.group. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn quite a bit. So Josh Kunkel there. So I'm otherwise fairly accessible.
All right. Well, thanks again, Josh, for coming on, and happy Employee Appreciation Day coming up Friday, March 5th.
So thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed the 123rd episode of the Putting the AP in Happy podcast, where accounts payable teams are empowered to protect the vendor master file from fraud. Don't forget to check the show notes for the links mentioned in the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing and writing a review of my podcast on the platform that you use to listen. Stay happy.